The dormant secondary Weibo account my boyfriend hadn't used in years suddenly updated with a post. May we miss each other every day that we are apart. There was only one comment underneath. Thank you for crossing mountains and seas to see me. Almost instantly, the face of a girl surfaced in my mind. So all these years we've been together, he never forgot about her and was prepared to spend a lifetime missing her. I smiled silently and turned off the screen. Liang Zhuan, 2 weeks ago, when you said you were on a business trip to the US, you actually went to see Qin Xian, didn't you? Chen Xian was the girl Liang Zhuan had secretly admired with cautious devotion during his youth. Liang Zhuan looked up from his computer, a flicker of panic in his eyes. I saw her while I was there. Is that so? Seeing that I didn't press further, he breathed a sigh of relief and buried himself back in his work. The only sound left in the room was the tapping of his keyboard on the keys. 2 weeks ago, right after Chen Xian posted a moment saying, "Alone in a foreign land. I miss home all the more on my birthday." Liang Zhuan bought a plane ticket to the US. He told me it was a last-minute business trip and asked me to help him pack. There aren't that many coincidences in the world. It's mostly the deliberate actions of those who are intent. Back then, I deliberately ignored the doubts in my heart and pretended nothing was wrong. Now, hearing him admit it himself, I actually feel relieved. Liang Zhuan and I were university classmates. The first time I saw him was at the freshman welcome party. He was wearing a white hoodie and casual trousers, holding a guitar, singing quietly. The entire hall was dim, except for a single beam of light shining on him. Who would have thought that a mere 3 minutes of watching from the audience would make my heart flutter for so many years? It really makes no sense when you think about it. After that day, I started figuring out how to turn that flutter into action. First, I gathered information about him. Good. No girlfriend. Good. No ex-girlfriend either. Good, and definitely no boyfriend. After clarifying the basics, I decided to appeal to his interests and become good friends with him. Then gradually progressed to holding hands, hugging. To be honest, the fastest way to lose interest in someone is to get to know them. Because I was constantly paying attention to him, I soon discovered his secret. He had a crush on an older student, Qiao Yan. At that point, I almost gave up. But only almost. He had a secret crush. And so did I. Didn't that still give me a chance? I encourage myself like this. Perhaps feeling a sense of urgency, I decisively skipped the friend's step and launched the fierce pursuit. Liang Zhuan, sensing my feelings, didn't reject me. Occasionally, he would even have meals or watch films with me. This went on for several months. My roommate said Liang Zhuan was stringing me along, amusing himself with me, treating me as a backup. After thinking it over, I felt I couldn't continue like this. I couldn't let myself sink deeper while he remained safely on the shore, watching from afar. On Christmas Day, I intercepted him outside his dormitory. The first thing I said when I saw him was, "Be my boyfriend. I promise I'll treat you well." He had just returned from a gathering with friends from the society, and had drunk quite a bit. Hearing my words, he froze at first, then grinned. That smile didn't seem like joy. It looked more like he was holding back tears. But at the time, I overlooked these details. The Xing, things like confessions should be done by the guy, he said, pulling me into an embrace. Will you be my girlfriend? I only found out later that on that same day, Chen Xian had also started dating someone. After we got together, I redoubled my efforts to be good to Liang Zhuan, tirelessly so, because I understood that our feelings weren't mutual. Aside from being good to him, I had no other way to gain a sense of security. 3 months into our relationship, our somewhat unequal relationship suddenly encountered a turning point. Chen Xian was going abroad. On the day of the farewell dinner, Liang Zhuan and I had originally agreed to go together, but he didn't show up in the end. I was left alone among a group of people I didn't know well, feeling as if I was sitting on pins and needles, my back prickling with discomfort. Midway through, Chen Xian came over to toast me. I thought to myself, no wonder Liang Zhuan liked her. She was so magnanimous, so considerate. But then she looked at me with pity and said, "You knew Liang Zhuan liked me, yet you still chased after him so desperately. What a lovesick fool." I was stunned. You knew he liked you? Then why didn't you get together with him? Isn't Liang Zhuan good enough for you? 3 questions in a row, each one confirming my own desperation. Chen Xian lifted her chin, smiling brightly and confidently. I'm outstanding too. I deserve someone better. After Chen Xian left, Liang Zhuan was down for a long time. I couldn't bring myself to abandon him during that period, so I kept holding on, enduring. Later, Liang Zhuan seemed moved by my sincerity and slowly began treating me better. He started considering my feelings and giving me a sense of security. My roommates said I had finally tasted the sweetness after all the bitterness that I had succeeded in winning him over. I thought so too. But I forgot. Those who are favored act without fear, and what you can't have always remains tempting. Liang Zhuan was my favored one. Chen Xian was Liang Zhuan's unattainable desire. Early the next morning, as I was packing my things to move back to my own place, Liang Zhuan heard the commotion from the guest room and rushed out to stop me. Don't go. Liang Zhuan, is there anything left about you worth my attachment? I extended a finger, tracing it slowly up from his collarbone until it rested on his cool, soft lips. This question was for him, but also for myself. We've been together for 2 years, he said, sounding as though he were talking to a child throwing a tantrum. Stop making a fuss. Yes, 2 whole years, and yet he still held that person's shadow in his heart. All the grievances from the past that had never been properly addressed began bubbling up inside me. I raised my hand sharply, ready to strike his face, but pulled back at the last moment. Forget it. In the end, I still needed a bit of dignity to give my past self some closure. The Xing, I need you. Liang Zhuan lowered his voice, deep exhaustion surfacing in his eyes. Such an honest statement. He needed me, but he didn't love me. I let out a deep sigh and smiled. Liang Zhuan, congratulate me. I finally cleared your level. This relationship had finally reached its inevitable end. I'd waited far too long. Liang Zhuan's composure suddenly shattered. He roughly snatched my luggage away. He tried to use force to keep me there. This side of him was rare. Most of the time, he was aloof and restrained, as if everything were within his expectations, requiring no emotional fluctuation. Just as he grabbed my hand, trying to pull me back into the room, my phone rang. It was Chen Xian. Why was she calling me? Puzzled, I answered. Hello. Who is this? I'd actually saved her number a long time ago, but out of some unspoken sense of pride, I'd always played dumb, never daring to confront her. This is Chen Xian. Hello. I wanted to explain about Liang Zhuan's trip to the US. Why was she suddenly reaching out to explain? It seems that last night, while I was struggling in despair, searching for a way out, Liang Zhuan was pouring his heart out to his unattainable dream. No need. I don't care at all what he did. You two can do whatever you want. After hanging up, I raised my phone and smiled. Liang Zhuan, what does she want to explain? Are the two of you truly without guilt? Liang Zhuan slowly released my luggage and lowered his head. Returning to my own flat, I spent a long time cleaning, exhausting myself until my limbs felt weak. That night, I slept more soundly than I had in ages. It was the first time in nearly a year that I'd fallen asleep without relying on medication. I didn't wake up until noon the next day. There were many missed calls on my phone, most of them from Liang Zhuan. Without hesitation, I blocked him, then dialed my best friend's number. She answered after just one ring, shouting excitedly. The Xing, you've really done it. You actually dumped our heartthrob. I hummed softly in agreement. How did you find out so quickly? Check the class group chat, it's blowing up. Before she could finish, I quickly hung up and opened the group chat. It wasn't much, just a bit of a spectacle caused by a few voice messages Liang Zhuan had mistakenly sent to the class group, pleading for me to come back. Xiaoxing, don't break up with me. I won't upset you again. Xiaoxing, the fridge is empty. Let's go to the supermarket to stock up on cola together. Xiaoxing, it's all my fault. Give me another chance. From his slurred speech and erratic breathing, it wasn't hard to tell these were the results of a drunken episode. He'd been drinking? I wondered if his stomach would hurt. The worry surfaced almost instinctively. I let out a bitter laugh. How pathetic. The Xing, you really have a way with him, reducing our aloof, unattainable heartthrob to this state. A former classmate quipped under the voice messages. Others quickly joined in and a lively discussion ensued. It wasn't that I was remarkable. It was simply that he couldn't have Chen Xian. So he reluctantly settled for me. Just as I put my phone down, an unknown number called. My intuition told me it was Liang Zhuan. As soon as I answered, sure enough, it was Zhao Xing. He called my name softly, and then fell silent. I held the phone, waiting quietly until my patience ran out, and I ended the call. Shortly after, he sent a text. I can marry you. To say his aloof, unyielding pride hadn't completely broken, yet he used such a crude method to try salvaging a shattered relationship. To say he was truly desperate, yet he used the word can, as if it were a concession. Ridiculous. Who wants to marry him? After some thought, I felt a string of ellipses best represented my complex feelings. Liang Zhuan acted as though he couldn't bear to let me go, but he didn't take any substantial action to salvage things either. After I blocked all his contact methods, he never showed up again. Now, almost a month had passed. That evening, I met up with my best friend at a bar as planned. Her eyes lit up when she saw me. Looks like my girl is hunting tonight. I adjusted my tube top and swayed my hips exaggeratedly. Getting older, I don't want to keep it bland anymore. In the 2 years I was with Liang Zhuan, the number of times he touched me could be counted on one hand. Now that I was single again, it was time to have some fun. It didn't necessarily have to lead to anything, but at least I shouldn't be left alone drowning in memories. I needed noise. I needed the bravado of false courage. After downing 3 glasses of wine at the bar, I got up and headed toward the dance floor. Maybe it was the alcohol, but I kept feeling someone's gaze on me, though whenever I tried to find its source, there was nothing. Trying hard to ignore the discomfort, I blended into the crowd, moving to the pulsating music. Just as I was getting into it, a girl next to me accidentally bumped into me. Caught off guard and standing near the edge of the platform, I was about to fall. A strong hand wrapped around my waist, pulling me into an embrace that carried a faint woody scent, averting the crisis. Once I regained my composure, I looked up and met a pair of eyes as cool and clear as winter stars. Dressed like this, he released me, his gaze quickly sweeping over my exposed midriff. You'll get diarrhea. Oh. I adjusted my tube top and miniskirt, then tucked my hair behind one ear, exposing the side of my neck facing him, and smiled. Fancy meeting you here. Are you fishing too? Liang Zhuan pressed his lips together, silent for a moment. Let's talk somewhere else. I stepped closer, leaning toward his ear. Can't. I've set a task for myself tonight. He frowned slightly. What task? I smiled sweetly and countered, what do you think? His expression shifted subtly. He looked at me quietly for a while. The Xing, I know you. You're not that kind of person. Those words instantly ignited my anger. What did he know about me? Then you've got it wrong. Actually, my cloud drive is full of videos you shouldn't watch. Want some website recommendations? The music in the bar was loud. You had to shout even when talking face to face. But just as I finished my loud declaration, the music stopped. Hot, curious stares converged on me from all directions. My best friend, who had been clinging to a man not far away, shrank into the corner, looking at me as if she didn't know who I was. People around us started cheering. Yes. Please share. The last time I felt this embarrassed was, well, the last time. I froze on the spot, my scalp tingling, awkwardly smiling and unsure what to do. Suddenly, Liang Zhuan reached out, took my hand, and calmly led me away without changing his expression, as if the teasing laughter around us didn't exist. I had to admit, Liang Zhuan's composure and unflappable demeanor were often incredibly attractive. Once in the car, I kept fanning myself, trying to cool my burning cheeks. So mortifying. I am never setting foot in that bar again. A soft click echoed and a shadow leaned toward me. My heart raced. I was about to resist when the person in front of me turned slightly, his tall nose nearly brushing mine. Liang Zhuan said calmly, "Seatbelt." Oh, I thought you were going for the forced kiss move. I overestimated you. Another click later, Liang Zhuan straightened up, his long, pale hands resting on the steering wheel as he gazed into the distance, lost in thought. He didn't start the car. In the confined space, the atmosphere grew increasingly awkward. I stared at the dim streetlights ahead for what felt like ages, but he didn't speak or make any move. I couldn't take it anymore. Forget it, I'll get a cab. Liang Zhuan quickly grabbed my wrist, leaning in close again. Don't you miss me? I narrowed my eyes, tilting my head so my warm breath brushed against his Adam's apple, and replied suggestively, I do. Want to come home with me? All right. You're still single, right? Fueled by alcohol, I was almost rubbing my hands together in excitement. But I still had to clarify this key point. I've been waiting for you to come back, he said. Oh, I don't want to go back, but tonight I'm particularly restless and need an outlet. I'm not sure if Liang Zhuan understood my less than noble intentions in bringing him home, but once we arrived, he just sat on the sofa. I called his name twice, but he didn't respond. He didn't make a move to shower either. The living room wasn't lit. I could only make out his silhouette by the moonlight. Honestly, it was a bit of a mood killer. I really wanted to march up to him and scold him like a disappointed mother berating her useless son, calling him unmanly, a coward. But in the end, I couldn't bring myself to do it. Maybe good-looking men just have a way of making women soften. Leaning against the wall, I pulled a cigarette from my bag and lit it. You should go. I'm letting you off. When did you start smoking? He looked at me surprised. I exhaled a thick cloud of smoke, too tired for further conversation, and headed straight for the bedroom. He rushed over, pressing his hands on my shoulders and backing me against the wall again. Then leaned in and kissed me. The taste of tobacco gradually faded in that long, damp kiss. When it ended, he rested his forehead against mine, his voice hoarse as he asked, Still going to make me leave? I hooked my arms around his neck, looking directly into his eyes. Liang Zhuan, aren't you pathetic? Do you just enjoy being the eager dog wagging its tail? That's how he was with Chen Xian back then. And now, he could be the same with me. I deliberately stopped at the last moment, buttoning up Liang Zhuan's disheveled shirt from the bottom to the top, one by one. Then, resting my head on my hand, I calmly met his flushed face. What should I do? I don't feel anything at all. For 7 whole days, Liang Zhuan didn't contact me again. Probably because that night dealt a severe blow to his pride. I didn't reach out to him either. Even though, during the long, endless nights, I broke down countless times, felt weak countless times. I held on. I learned to be alone, to embrace solitude, to make peace with my obsessions, to accept my imperfect self. However, on the 8th day, Liang Zhuan showed up at my door. He stood at the entrance, the tips of his ears flushed red, looking at me. The Xing, want to see something? I raised an eyebrow, waiting for him to continue. He lowered his head, lifted the hem of his shirt, and revealed his stomach. Look, ABs. I almost couldn't hold back a laugh. In the past, I used to deliberately provoke him, saying how so-and-so had abs and looked so handsome, hoping to make him jealous. But he never reacted. Who would have thought that just one comment about not feeling anything that night could make him go work on his ABs? So this is what men care about. After a moment of silence, I lowered my eyes to hide my emotions. Great. Keep it up. With that, I moved to close the door. Liang Zhuan pushed against the door to stop me, a mix of grievance and helplessness appearing on his face. I finally couldn't hold it in anymore and laughed. Liang Zhuan, dare you let Chuyan see you acting this clingy and desperate? Of course he wouldn't dare. The more you care about someone, the more you want to appear perfect in front of them. Just like when Chen Xian went abroad, Liang Zhuan drank himself red-eyed on the Yangtze River Bridge. So unsteady he could barely stand. Yet he wouldn't allow himself to utter a single word begging her to stay. But he dared to lay all his wretchedness bare in front of me. In other words, he just didn't care about me, so it didn't matter how I saw him. Liang Zhuan didn't answer my question. He turned and left quickly, his steps carrying palpable anger. Most of the time, he was cool and detached, as if drifting on the edges of the world, never showing excessive interest in anything, evaluating things with words like average, not bad, fine. Only when Chen Xian was mentioned would he show noticeably different emotional fluctuations. I'd known this very early on, but it doesn't matter. It's not important anymore. I went inside to grab a bag. When I came back out, I saw Liang Zhuan again. Didn't you leave? I asked. He glanced down at his phone screen, expression cold. No trace of the earlier anger left. Going out at this hour? What else do you think I got all dolled up for? To take out the rubbish? I don't know why, but ever since the breakup, I've particularly liked using rhetorical questions when talking to Liang Zhuan. Maybe I feel it gives me more presence. He seemed to be admiring my makeup, his expression serious. After a while, he said, "Your eyebrows aren't symmetrical." Damn! How are my natural brows not symmetrical? How could he dismiss half an hour of effort with one sentence? Irritated, I pushed him aside, closed the door, and headed for the elevator. Quick as lightning, he grabbed my wrist, turned, and pinned me against the wall. His thin lips brushed against my earlobe. His voice, whether intentionally lowered or not, carrying a mesmerizing power. "Xiao Xing, I've taken the initiative this far. What more do you want?" So annoying. Even in heels, I'm still not as tall as him. I swallowed, slowly wrapped my arms around his waist, and gently drummed my fingers on his aves. "I want you to be my lapdog." For such an unpleasant remark, Liang Zhuan only darkened his gaze slightly, even managing to chuckle. "The Xing, it turns out I really didn't know you. Clearly, I don't have his level of tolerance." That simple sentence successfully riled me up. After knowing each other for 7 years, he finally realizes he doesn't know me. I said coldly, "Liang Zhuan, a good dog doesn't block the way." He leaned in closer, his lips hovering near mine. "This is the first time you've insulted me. This guy definitely has some issues." I scoffed, raising my knee toward the space between his legs. "If you don't move, don't blame me." He silently stepped back, letting out a weary sigh. "Then let me drive you." A free driver is not to be wasted. The whole ride was silent. When we reached the garden restaurant, I got out of the car without looking back. Inside the restaurant, a low male voice crooned softly. The lighting was romantically beautiful, and the decor was unique. This atmosphere was indeed perfect for a date. I mentally gave a thumbs up to tonight's blind date. Tonight's setup was arranged by my boss's wife, who found out about my breakup and insisted on it. I was actually quite resistant, but now I don't feel as opposed. Talking to a stranger, getting to know new people, is better than staying stuck in place, not moving forward. After giving myself this pep talk, I started looking for my target and soon found him. The man sat sideways to me, wearing a tea-colored button-up cardigan, his shoulder-length hair half tied up, half loose, exuding an elegant, scholarly air. My sixth sense told me this man's front view would be even more handsome. Suppressing my little excitement, I walked over to him. Sure enough, he didn't disappoint. His eyes were clear and refined, like an ink-washed landscape painting. Every stroke could be engraved into one's heart, leaving a lasting, subtle charm. But the next moment, my heart sank to the depths, because Liang Zhuan had actually followed me inside. Fortunately, Liang Zhuan didn't interfere with my date. Pretending to be a stranger, he quietly sat at the next table. I forced a smile and extended my hand to the handsome young man. "Hello, I'm the Xing." "Hello, I'm Qin Chen." The young man stood up gracefully, his gentle fingers lightly holding my fingertips before letting go, the duration neither too long nor too short, polite yet effortless. Qin Chen, the Xing, stars and celestial bodies. Quite a coincidence, I mused silently. After we sat down, Qin Chen called the waiter over and said they could serve the dishes. I couldn't help but feel another wave of goodwill toward him. When eating with people, especially unfamiliar ones, the thing I dread most is ordering. The fact that he had taken care of it in advance, regardless of whether the flavors suited me, filled me with gratitude. I did some research beforehand. These are all their signature dishes. I hope you like them, Qin Chen said with a light smile, his tone naturally measured. It was neither overly polite to the point of pressure, nor so distant as to cause awkwardness. This is my first blind date, so I'm not very experienced. Please bear with me. But you seem quite familiar with the process. Is this your first time? I asked curiously. With Qin Chen's good looks and great fashion sense, did a man like this really need a woman? Did a man like this really need to go on blind dates? He paused for a moment. First time. Now it was my turn to be stunned. Then why? Give it to me. After saying that, an inappropriate image immediately popped into my mind, and my face flushed. Lately, to distract myself, I've been frequenting certain websites reading stories. Sigh. I've even started unconsciously steering conversations into risk territory. But judging by Chin Chen's reaction, he seemed like a decent guy who hadn't been exposed to such messy stuff. He calmly explained. A friend mentioned you. I thought your name was nice, so I wanted to meet you. All right. A rather mundane reason. I was just thinking of a new topic when Chin Chen spoke again. Is that person next to us your friend? I glanced toward Liang Zhuan. Just as I was about to shake my head, Liang Zhuan stood up and walked over to me. His hearing is really sharp. Seems he was eavesdropping the whole time. How long are you going to keep up this act? Liang Zhuan stood in front of Chin Chen, his gaze deep and intense. I was slightly taken aback. What was going on? Chin Chen raised an eyebrow, slowly forming a detached smile. Brother, I'm on a date. Can whatever it is wait? Chin Chen leaned back in his chair, looking straight up at Liang Zhuan. From my angle, the man standing against the light, looking down at the lazily seated young man, with the warm halos around them, made their eye contact seem remarkably tender. Liang Zhuan was silent for a long time before suddenly turning to look at me. He's my brother, I shrugged. So? Am I not allowed to date your brother? Liang Zhuan's face darkened instantly, and he stormed off. Watching his retreating figure, a wave of frustration washed over me. I suddenly lost all interest in being out, and just wanted to go home quickly. I don't know if this is a coincidence, but I prefer not to meet again, I said coldly. Chin Chin sat up straight. You're being too sensitive, I smiled bitterly. I've been burned by your brother. I have to be wary of your whole family. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I break up with the older brother, and the younger brother immediately shows up for a blind date with me. I don't believe in coincidences like that. Besides, I'd heard before that the two brothers didn't get along at all. As Chin Chan made to stand up, I quickly waved him off and strode away. I wandered the streets for a long time in the evening breeze, eating a lot of fried food I usually avoid. By the time I got home, it was almost 1 a.m. As soon as I stepped inside, before I could even turn on the light, someone wrapped their arms around me from behind in a bear hug. Who is it? I gasped instinctively, but quickly identified who it was by the familiar scent. You're trespassing. He buried his face in the crook of my neck, nuzzling. Give me some time. I will forget her. Oh. I forcefully pried his hands off my waist and flicked the light switch. As darkness receded, the emotions in Liang Zhuan's eyes were laid bare. For the first time in 2 years, I saw the same despondent confusion he'd shown the day Chen Xian left. Memories flooded back. I sneered. Liang Zhuan, for as many years as you chased Chen Xian, I waited by your side. And now you still want me to give you time? Based on what? Are you made of gold or studded with diamonds? I finally understood why I kept using those sharp, sarcastic rhetorical questions. It was a self-protective stance, because I knew all too well that Liang Zhuan and I were unequal. The emotions I'd invested in him were too heavy, while what he felt was nothing more than reluctance. I was afraid that a momentary lapse in judgment would let him confuse me, leading me down the same path again. So I kept myself in a combative state. The Xing. He tentatively reached for my hand. I swiftly pulled away. The night was desolate, a cold wind blowing in through the unclosed window. I clearly saw Yang Zhuan's eyes redden in the wind. The next moment he pressed forward, kissing my lips with an aggressive intensity, as if he'd lost all reason. A sharp, dull pain spread through my chest. All the heartache and grievances from the past years surged up without warning. I pushed him away, a malicious thought rising. If you don't leave now, I'll have to seek Chen Xian's help. I imagined she'd be willing to give me advice for old time's sake. His gaze remained fixed on me, but he didn't move. After a while, he laughed at himself. Stay away from Chin Chen. Liang Xuan, you have no right to tell me what to do you? If you don't leave, I'm calling the police. With that, I ran into my room as fast as I could and shut the door, not wanting to continue this meaningless conversation any longer. The next day, I was spinning like a top at work until the afternoon before I had a moment to text my best friend about crashing at her place. I typed out the message, but hadn't he sent it yet when I saw my boss's wife approaching with a beaming smile. Sweetie, How was the blind date last night? He thought very highly of you, you know. As she spoke, her eyes glanced at my chat window. Oh, you need a place to stay? I can arrange that for you. No, it's fine. I hurriedly waved my hands, alarmed. Behind such enthusiasm, who knew what kind of trap lurked? After considerable effort, I finally managed to see off this deity. I sent the message to my best friend. She replied almost immediately. Sure, come on over. Bring the gossip. I dragged myself through until work ended. Just as I stepped out of the office building, I saw Chin Chun. He was wearing a plain-colored cardigan, his dark hair softly tied back. The orange evening glow enveloped him, giving him a fragile, almost ethereal quality, as if he might vanish at any moment. The Xing. He spotted me too and walked over through the crowd. I watched him warily. I came to apologize, he said, stopping in front of me, squinting slightly, his voice soft. After thinking for several seconds, I decided fleeing was the best option. But Chin Chun had no intention of letting me go. He quickly caught up and blocked my path. I know you are my brother's girlfriend, but that doesn't stop me from wanting to pursue you. His tone was calm, as natural as commenting on the weather. I couldn't detect sincerity, nor could I spot deceit or any confusion. Are you insane? I snapped, annoyed. Liang Zhuan wasn't normal, and this Chin Chun wasn't much better. Chin Chun squinted and smiled. Perhaps. This guy really is insane, I concluded internally. Not wanting to cause a scene in front of the office, I reluctantly agreed to have dinner with Chin Chun. The meal passed in complete silence. After finishing, I left 200 yuan on the table and walked away without looking back. That night, when I told my best friend about it, I felt utterly wronged. I only had one bite of steak, and 200 yuan is gone. Being near men really does bring misfortune. My best friend showed no sympathy. Her eyes were only on the gossip. So right now, you're stringing along 2 men at the same time, and these 2 men are brothers. And now you're moving in with me to hide from. Which one? The older brother or the younger? Most importantly, who's more handsome? The brother or the younger? I laughed in frustration. Sis, I'm heartbroken, and now I've got all this drama. Could you maybe care about my feelings first? My best friend offered a few perfunctory words of concern, before steering the conversation back to the juicy details. Waking up at 7 in the morning with dark circles under my eyes. I finally understood a principle. Once you start gossiping about men with your best friend, it's hard to stop. After staying up all night and skipping breakfast, I actually fainted at work. A colleague took me to the hospital. Not long after, Chin Chun got the news and came to see me, carrying a bouquet of daisies. After glancing at my medical chart, he remarked with a faint, ambiguous smile, "You're only like this non-combative right now." Pity, I lacked the energy to retort. Around noon, Chin Chen said he had something to take care of and would be back soon. I didn't think much of it. Unexpectedly, when he returned, he was holding a thermal flask containing food he had prepared himself. The taste wasn't exceptional, but it was light and healthy. Seeing me finish everything, a smile he couldn't quite suppress appeared at the corner of his mouth. I could tell he was trying hard to hold it back, but he failed. Yet it was precisely this small detail that suddenly made him seem less unreal to me. "Thank you," I said after careful consideration, deciding to be a bit nicer. He paused while clearing the dishes, turned, and smiled faintly. "So, are we friends now?" Then he added, "I really do need a friend who can eat." I didn't know how to respond to that. He had genuinely helped me today. I couldn't keep righteously assuming the worst about him as before. But I didn't want to be friends with him. When it was time to be discharged, Liang Zhuan finally showed up late. He stood at the doorway of the hospital room, locking eyes with Chin Chen, who was holding my bag. After a moment of silence, Liang Zhuan spoke first. "What is he doing here?" "And what are you doing here?" I retorted coldly. My best friend had already told Liang Zhuan about my fainting spell this morning. And how did he reply? 2 words. "I'm busy." Haha, are you really with him? The Xing, didn't I tell you to stay away from him? Liang Zhuan's tone was urgent, his emotions showing signs of spiraling. Are you that easy to chase? Or are you just doing this to upset me? The words my best friend said when she sent me the screenshot of their chat resurfaced. Sweetie, hurry up and get all sweet with the younger brother. Piss him off. Resentment and anger consumed my reason. I looped my arm through Chin Chen's and said to Liang Zhuan in a soft, coquettish voice, "What right do you have to interfere in my affairs?" After saying that, I looked up at Chin Chen, only to catch a fleeting, indecipherable emotion in his eyes. Something like triumph or perhaps mockery. My heart sank abruptly, and my grip on his arm loosened slightly. Just then, Liang Zhuan said, "The Xing, do you really understand the person beside you? Do you have to understand someone to be with them? You didn't understand me, yet you were with me for 2 years, didn't you?" I shot back. Liang Zhuan pressed his lips together, saying nothing. His hands hanging by his sides were clenched so tightly, his knuckles turned white. The smell of disinfectant hung in the air. The hospital's vast expanses of white felt oppressive, weighing on the mood and straining the nerves. I forced a triumphant smile and tugged Jin Chen away. As I passed Liang Zhuan, he looked at me. That glance carried heavy disappointment and a trace of helplessness. Outside the hospital, I released Chin Chen's hand and squinted at the setting sun on the horizon. Even though it made my eyes water, I stubbornly refused to look away. "Chin Chen, thank you, but from now on, let's not see each other again." Chin Chen showed no surprise. He smiled faintly and even reached out to ruffle my hair. "Pushing me away again? It's fine. I'll find my own way to get close to you." A flock of sparrows flew low overhead, chirping noisily, injecting a breath of life into this dreary hospital. I watched them disappear into the distance, then turned back to Chin Chen with a smile. "Thank you for today, but that's all I can say. From now on, let's pretend we don't know each other. Things that are too draining or filled with uncertainty aren't worth pursuing." I'd already learned that lesson with Liang Zhuan. Otherwise, in the end, the losses outweigh the gains. Just because of him, you don't believe in love anymore. Chin Chen's amber-brown pupils reflected a gentle light in the golden dusk. At this moment, he was looking at me with a focus so intense it was startling. "That's none of your business." I turned and walked away. Continuing this conversation would be pointless. That night, back at my best friend's place, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Having forgotten my medication, I could only endure the dry insomnia, my emotions teetering on the edge of collapse several times. The next morning, my best friend looked at me with concern. "Xing, take a sick day." I was also afraid of fainting again at work, so I took her advice. After she left for work, I was alone in the flat. Still sleepless, I ended up on the balcony for a smoke. On my third cigarette, I scrolled past a post by Qin Xian on Weibo. 2 days ago, she had announced she was returning to China to develop her career. After staring at it for over 10 seconds, an intense wave of exhaustion washed over me. I couldn't tell if it was physical or mental, but that feeling of being utterly drained frightened me. I practically fled back to bed, wrapped myself tightly in the duvet, and forced my eyes shut to rest. "Jiaxing, do you really not want me anymore?" A soft murmur sounded by my ear. Gradually, I opened my eyes to see. It was actually Liang Zhuan. He was wearing matching couple's pajamas, lying beside me, his eyes downcast, seeming sad about something. My breath hitched. I couldn't help reaching out to touch the side of his face. "Liang Zhuan, did you really never love me?" He lifted his eyes to meet mine. "I will love you. Just give me a little more time." "How long is a little more time?" I pressed, my tone urgent. He didn't know how to answer, trying to divert my attention with other actions. But I had no interest at all. In fact, a wave of unbearable nausea rose. I pushed Liang Zhuan away forcefully and slapped him across the face. "I'm sick of you." After saying that, I felt immensely satisfied and proceeded to pummel him with my fists and feet. And then, I really woke up. The satisfaction from the dream evaporated instantly, replaced by even more confusion and dejection. Checking the time on my phone, I realized I'd only slept for 2 hours. I couldn't let a breakup ruin my health. Struggling, I got up, planning to go downstairs for a meal. Just as I was about to leave, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. Answering it, I heard Liang Zhuan's voice. He seemed to be in some pain, speaking slowly, a slight tremble in his tone. "Jiaxing, I can't find you." "Xiaoxing, did I lose you?" I really wanted to demand why he hadn't cherished me, but I had no energy to speak, not even the strength to keep listening. I pressed end call, then leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. I was upset, deeply upset, but I didn't want to go back at all. After regaining my composure, I stuck to my plan. Went downstairs, ate, took care of myself. Looking after my own health would always be far more important than begging for love from someone else. After the meal, I still felt no sleepiness, yet I could clearly sense I was running on sheer stubbornness, while actually being utterly exhausted. To avoid pushing myself further, I decided to go home to get my medication. But unexpectedly, I found Liang Zhuan curled up on my living room floor. He was clutching his stomach, face pale, intermittent groans of pain escaping his throat. It was strange. Such a tense scene, yet I felt completely unmoved. I calmly found the stomach medicine, made him take it, helped him back to the sofa, and that was it. Xiaoxing. He seemed surprised by my indifference too, tentatively calling my name, his voice soft and faint, his gaze hazy, as if he might cry the next second. Come back, please. My life is a mess without you. I suddenly felt like laughing. All my attentive care for him hadn't moved him, yet it had quietly become his habit. Like him relying on me to handle his tedious daily routines. Like him relying on me to care for his sensitive, fragile stomach. Each instance was a small thing, yet they were all woven into his life. Now he seemed to realize this too. Xiaoxing, let's get back together. I'm the one who wronged you. He was sick, his pale lips parting to utter each word, each one chipping away at his pride. He had finally surrendered completely. But I just watched quietly, offering no response. After a long while, the sound of suppressed crying started. I lowered my head, silently gripping the hem of my top. Before, even when we held each other close, I felt Liang Zhuan was far away from me. But at this moment, I felt he was very, very close. In the end, I had to use leaving him to teach him the meaning of cherishing. Liang Zhuan, I don't hate you anymore. I couldn't let this relationship become a festering thorn in my heart. Like the song says, you shouldn't dwell on someone you loved with all your might. Let it end here. When I finished packing my medication and was about to leave, Liang Zhuan had composed himself. Xiaoxing, Xian is back, he said, his eyes following my movements, speaking cautiously. I gave a faint, A few of us from the society are planning a gathering. Can you come with me? He added. I looked up at him. Why? He fell silent. You don't want Cheng Xian to know you got dumped by me? He remained silent. I shook my head. Liang Zhuan, don't make me look down on you. This seemed to surprise him greatly. He looked at me, his lips moving silently for a while, before he could utter a word. I sighed. Leave the key when you go. If you break in again, I really will call the police. My insomnia worsened, forcing me to ask my boss for a week's sick leave. Unsurprisingly, this news reached Qin Chen via my boss's wife. That afternoon, Qin Chen's calls came one after another. I blocked one number, and he'd use a new one to continue harassing me. Relentless, far more stubborn than his brother, and far less concerned with face. Finally, driven to distraction, I simply switched off my phone. But I didn't expect him to find his way to my best friend's flat. He must have gone to a lot of trouble. Yes? I stood at the door, looking guardedly at Qin Chen outside. Let me take care of you, he said. You're insane, I replied. He lowered his eyelashes, as if calming some emotion. I couldn't be bothered and closed the door, shutting him out. Lying back on the sofa, I thought that since Qin Chen had found the place, the phone harassment should stop. I switched my phone back on. Moments later, over a dozen messages flooded in. After reading them, I grabbed my bag in a panic and rushed out. But upon opening the door, Qin Chen, as if anticipating it, blocked my way. Don't go. Move, I yelled. The Xing, you are not going, he said, emphasizing each word, firm and resolute. I pushed Qin Chen aside without a second thought and dashed out. It was peak hour, and the roads were jammed. Watching the unmoving traffic, a frantic anxiety clawed at my chest. Finally, gritting my teeth, I got out of the car and hopped onto a shared bicycle. Arriving at the hotel, I rushed straight to the private room without even catching my breath, and then I froze. The room was decorated with colorful balloons and bright roses. surrounded by many light-up signs reading, "Marry me." Liang Zhuan stood in the middle of a circle of people, a ring box in his hand. His expression was hard to read, a mix of excitement and nerves, and I could just make out his legs trembling slightly. Jin Xian stood close by his right side. Realizing this was a marriage proposal, I turned to flee. Liang Zhuan quickly rushed over and grabbed me. "Xing, don't go." Suppressing my fury, I forced a smile. "Liang Zhuan, what are you doing now? Don't tell me you need your ex-girlfriend's blessing for your proposal. Don't be so pathetic. I'm not some straw boat. I can't handle all your nonsense." Even after being scolded by me, he actually had the nerve to look embarrassed. A flicker of bad premonition shot through me. Immediately after, I heard Chun Xian's voice. "The Xing, marry him." The others instantly chimed in, one voice louder than the next. Amidst the rising tide of cheers, Liang Zhuan, his face flushed, slowly went down on one knee. He raised the ring and was just about to speak when I sharply cut him off. "I don't want to." 4 words, clean and decisive. After saying it, I swept my gaze towards Chun Xian. "What brand of bin bag are you, to be so full of it? Since you know Liang Zhuan has a girlfriend, no matter how reluctant you are to let go of this spare tire, you should control yourself a bit. Feeling lonely? Flirt. Feeling lonely again? Flirt again. How many times a month do you get your period? Is your heat cycle that frequent? Aren't there any other single men around for you to vent on?" This was what I'd wanted to do during countless late nights, seeing her video call Liang Zhuan. Back then, all I could do was have a row with Liang Zhuan. Now, I finally had the chance to curse this woman to her face. Chun Xian's face flushed red, then paled white. Clearly, she hadn't expected me to attack her with such blunt, vulgar words. My best friend rushed over from the corner, clutching a DV camera, tugging at my arm anxiously. "Xiao Xing Xing, did I do the wrong thing? If it weren't for this woman lying to me, saying her balding old boss had forcibly kept her at the drinking table, I wouldn't have rushed over in such a panic to rescue her." Thinking of my bare face, disheveled hair, compared to Qin Xian's pure, green tea makeup and elegant little black dress, a pang of anger shot through my chest. This is an internal conflict between us. We'll sort it out at home. My last shred of reason held back harsher words. In the end, I couldn't bear to be sharp with her in front of so many people. I took her hand, ready to leave. Chun Xian called out to me softly, her eyes rimmed red like a little white rabbit. "The Xing, you've misunderstood me and Liang Zhuan. Me being here this time is to bless you. I hope you and Liang Zhuan can be happy forever." A cold laugh rose inside me. I turned to look at Liang Zhuan. His eyes were also rimmed red. As for the reason, who knew? Maybe because I'd rejected him. Maybe because I'd cursed his white moonlight. I know you're bothered by Xian, so I specifically invited her here to witness this moment. With so many friends here too. Does that give you enough of a sense of security now? He spoke slowly, weighing every word carefully. I let out a laugh. "There's something you still haven't figured out, have you?" He was stunned. I leaned close to him and whispered, "I really don't like you anymore." Outside the hotel, my best friend fidgeted beside me, wanting to speak but holding back, clearly tormented. I intended to give her the cold shoulder, but I hadn't gone far before my own impatience won out. I said fiercely, "Aren't you going to beg for my forgiveness?" She immediately switched to a fawning smile. "Darling, I was wrong. Please forgive silly little me. Is that it? I'm not convinced." I said that, but I understood my friend's intention. She knew how much I liked Liang Zhuan, knew how much I wanted to marry him, which is why she chose to help Liang Zhuan trick me into coming. Her original intention was for my sake. "I really don't like Liang Zhuan anymore," I said seriously. "It's not said in anger and I'm not lying to myself. But you used to." "Xiao Xing, are you really not going to regret it?" Liang Zhuan proposing in front of Qin Xian. Wasn't that to show his determination to cut ties with her? The biggest problem between you two is solved. Isn't it a pity to give up now? She asked me earnestly too. Holding her arm, I walked slowly in the direction of the setting sun. I've never given up on liking myself. It was true that I liked Liang Zhuan, but I also liked myself. I didn't know if she'd understand if I said it out loud. Back then, knowing full well Liang Zhuan didn't like me. I still allowed myself to like him, to chase after him, because I had a clear understanding of myself. My own rationality couldn't suppress my liking for him. So I chose to run headfirst into that wall. Smashing through it would be better. Failing would be my punishment to experience what disappointment truly felt like. I didn't want to be left pining for him because of unwillingness or regret, beautifying him in my own imagined scenarios, or even seeing his shadow in every person I loved later. Every single day I was with Liang Zhuan, I had no regrets. That he didn't love me, I had no regrets either. That I loved him until I no longer loved him, that was even less of a regret. Buddha said, "Others are not at fault. The fault lies with oneself." So, my own heart stirred. I will be the one to quench it. Life is a practice. Before I could finish being profound, my phone rang. Seeing the words, Her Majesty Mother, flashing on the screen, I didn't dare delay, quickly answering. "Hey, Mum Mo," I replied with a cheeky grin. "Don't act cute with me. Did you have a row with Liang Zhuan?" Her Majesty Mother's voice rose sharply. "We didn't row. We just broke up. That's all," I replied. Her Majesty Mother fell silent for a moment, her voice turning cold. "The Xing, you've been with him for 2 years. All the advantages have been taken by him. Breaking up now? Has a donkey kicked your brain? Do you still want to get married? How do you think your future husband will see you?" "Mum, if my future husband minds, I won't marry him. These things have to be laid out clearly." I thought speaking lightly might ease her anxiety, but before I could finish, she hung up on me. 10 minutes later, she called again. "The Xing, I asked Liang Zhuan for you. He's willing to marry you. Go home now and wait for him," she commanded. My grandparents favored boys over girls. Because of me, my mum suffered a lot of grievances. So, from childhood, I always felt I was the one who owed my mum, always trying to find ways to please her. But at this moment, I suddenly lost the patience to treat her as I had before. Be prepared for the possibility that I might never marry in my lifetime. If you're still worried, I'll go buy an insurance policy, with you as the beneficiary. After hanging up, meeting my friend's sympathetic gaze, I felt even more irritable. "Find a place to have a drink with me?" My friend shook her head timidly. "I snuck out earlier thinking to film your proposal scene. Now I have to go back to the company to catch up on my work." "Ah, you're so loyal," I said, pointing at the DV on her chest. "Remember to send me the video." She nodded hurriedly, eager. "Then call me after you drink. I'll come pick you up." I randomly found a roadside stall, ordered some skewers and beer. Just as I was about to take a small sip, Kinchin appeared. He leisurely sat down opposite me, a layer of amusement in his eyes. "I thought you would have said yes to him." My thoughts shifted. I picked up a bottle of beer, bit the cap off with my teeth, and handed it to him. Been following me all this way? Must have been hard work. He took the bottle, took a swig directly from it. It should have been a rough action, but he managed to make it look refined and polite. A trickle of beer escaped the corner of his lips, slowly running down his fair, slender neck. His round Adam's apple bobbed gently, adding a touch of allurement to the scene. I couldn't help a light laugh. "Dare to keep me company till we re-drunk?" His eyes suddenly brightened. "Dare." We drank until 11 at night. We were both drunk, although I was pretending. As for whether Kinchin was or not, I didn't know. Anyway, when checking into the hotel, he was still quick to pull out his ID. The elevator ascended. Kinchin rested his head on my shoulder, his face turned aside, seemingly deliberately not letting me see his expression. I sneered inwardly. Could this guy be nervous? Entering the room, I closed the door, inserted the keycard, turned and forcefully pushed him down onto the bed. The soft mattress dipped. His features, tinged with the smell of alcohol, looked somewhat innocent against the white bedding. He watched me quietly, every breath restrained. I knelt on one knee beside him, meeting his gaze, my fingertips gently tracing his brow bone. Kinchin's expression was well controlled. In his slightly dazed eyes, there was no sign of desire, but also no resistance. I suddenly felt playful, leaning down inch by inch, closer to his lips. When only 2 centimeters remained, he pushed me away, flustered, scrambling to the side. Just as I thought. He really was tense. Tilting my head, I blinked, feigning disappointment. "What's wrong?" The tips of his ears were flushed red. He didn't dare look at me at all. I want to shower first. I didn't speak, quietly watching him fluster his way into the bathroom. Listening to the sound of running water, I suddenly felt extremely weary. It's all right. After getting through this, I can be completely free. I cheered myself on inwardly. About 40 minutes later, Kinchin emerged from the bathroom, and he was dressed very neatly. I raised an eyebrow at him. He explained awkwardly, "It wouldn't be troublesome to take off either." "Oh?" I handed him the lemon sea drink in my hand. "Makes sense." He took a big gulp, then blinked, waiting for me to give the next order, to instruct him on what to do next. "Finish it. It's hydrating. You'll sweat later," I said. His Adam's apple bobbed, his gaze gradually growing hotter. "All right." His voice was hoarse. I suddenly felt a bit scared. What if something really happened? After he finished the drink, he tugged lightly at the hem of my clothes, swaying it left and right. I gave a dry laugh. "Let's chat for a bit. I feel like we don't really know each other. How about you introduce yourself before we ... Proceed?" His face flushed crimson almost instantly. He was so nervous he choked on his own saliva. He didn't seem like the proactive type. I started to reach out to pat his back, then thought better of physical contact. So I quietly moved a bit further away, waiting quietly for him to finish coughing. After a good while, he said, "Zhao Xing, we know each other very well." "Huh? You know, Liang Zhuan has a stepbrother, right?" I shook my head, indicating I didn't know. I knew Liang Zhuan had a brother, but I didn't know it was such a complicated stepbrother situation. Liang Zhuan rarely talked about his family, just told me he had a stepmother who was very good to him, and the stepmother had a son who was abroad, and probably wouldn't return in this lifetime. I thought for a moment, then asked tentatively, "You don't like Liang Zhuan, do you?" Kinchin nodded. "Yes. He doesn't like me either." Then I understood. Him chasing after me was probably just to annoy his brother, right? The inexplicable competitive spirit and desire for revenge of a young man. It matched my guess pretty closely. Kinchin yawned, his eyelids drooping sleepily. I quickly stood up. I should go shower too, for a sense of ceremony. After 2 steps, Kinchin grabbed my hand. He looked up at me, his face expectant. "Zhao Xing, don't go." His voice was too soft, slipping into my ears with a tantalizing charm. I secretly pursed my lips, cupped his face. "Not going, not going. You wait here nicely for me." By the time I left the hotel, it was completely dark. The endless long streets stretched infinitely into the night. Dim street lamps desperately cast their hazy, ambiguous light, trying to swallow a bit more of the darkness. Following the direction home, I ambled slowly. The night breeze was cool, making one feel particularly. Memories related to Liang Zhuan played like a revolving lantern in my mind. I calmly savored their taste and suddenly gained a new insight. Loving someone is actually a kind of enjoyment. How many times in our entire lives can we be so infatuated? How many times can our hearts stir so deeply? Having one experience of chasing love with all our might to illuminate our youth is also a kind of gain. I haven't lost the right to choose others because of this. I'm still me, just a version of me who has made one more choice. No regrets, no resentment, no fear. Life still holds many expectations. Returning to my best friend's place, she was already asleep. I tiptoed and lay down beside her. "There's hangover soup in the pot. Go have some yourself," my friend mumbled sleepily. A warmth spread in my heart. "You're so good." No response. The woman was asleep again in seconds. After drinking the soup, I lay down again and fell asleep not long after. I suppose because the matter that had been weighing on my heart was resolved, my insomnia symptoms lessened. Waking up the next day, it was already 10 in the morning. Picking up my phone, I first took Liang Zhuan out of the blacklist, then found last night's photos and posted them on my social media with the caption, "Lower expectations, enjoy the process." After posting, I opened the photo to admire it again. Kinchin's bare shoulder was visible as he lay on the hotel bed, while I lay in his arms, puckering my lips theatrically towards his profile. The picture was highly suggestive. In less than a minute, someone commented, "The Xing, aren't you disgusting?" It was Chen Xian. I couldn't be bothered to reply. This post was only visible to Chen Xian, Kinchin, And Liang Zhuan. The other two hadn't said anything yet. Why was she barking? Turning off the phone screen, I waited quietly. Soon, the phone rang. Seeing the name, Liang Zhuan, flashing on the screen, I smiled. It was finally ending, in the way I wanted. Speak quickly if you have something to say. I feigned impatience. There was silence on the other end for a moment. Then a hoarse voice asked, "Do you hate me that much?" I had no response to that. "Why did you get together with him?" Not getting a reply from me, Liang Zhuan no longer suppressed his anger. I laughed. "What exactly are you angry about?" His breathing hitched. "The Xing, you did it on purpose, didn't you?" "No. It was irresistible passion. Dry wood meeting a fierce fire," I replied. He hung up quickly. Yet less than 2 seconds later, he called again. "The Xing, this is too much. He's my brother. Don't you know you've personally destroyed any possibility between us? If you wanted to disgust me, did you have to use such methods? Are you really that cheap?" One sentence after another, his tone growing more and more agitated. I took a deep breath. "Weren't you emotionally unfaithful with Chen Xian when we were together? All those photos of her you saved on the cloud, you think I didn't know? At least I found someone after we broke up. What right do you have to blame me? And I'll tell you something else. Your brother is much better than you. Have a chat with him about it sometime." After saying that, I hung up, collapsing onto the sofa, breathing heavily. Liang Zhuan was right. I did do it on purpose to disgust him. But more importantly, I wanted to personally push our relationship into a dead end. To make him let me go sooner, and to never bother me again for the rest of his life. I'm a lazy person. I like to spend my energy on important people and things. Since he's in the past, he really shouldn't appear in my world anymore. After half an hour of peace, the phone rang again. This time it was Kinchen. "Zhe, Zhu using me?" He'd just woken up. The hint of sleepiness still in his tone. I admitted freely. Yes. Him approaching me, wasn't that also using me? As if sensing my thoughts, he said, "You're overcomplicating me. My approaching you was where my heart led." Where my heart led, such a pretentious phrase. I'm not some naive, ignorant girl. All right, stop. You approached me to annoy your brother too, didn't you? This was a win-win. Let's leave it at that. No need to contact each other in the future. The Xing, he raised his voice. You're too guarded. I sneered. If I don't guard myself, should I expect you two brothers to protect me? To be good to me? After a moment of silence, he said softly, "Let's meet." I was about to refuse when he spoke again. "Consider it compensation for drugging me last night, Xiaoxing. Last night, I'd put sleep aids in the drink I gave him. By the time I finished my shower, he was already asleep. Those suggestive photos were taken while he was asleep. It wasn't a meticulously planned scheme. Everything was a spur-of-the-moment idea. First, Liang Zhuan's bizarre proposal. Then my mum's bizarre pressure to marry, followed by Kinchen's bizarre persistence. Then, following this pile of bizarre events, I came up with this bizarre trick. Thinking of Kinchen's nervous, uneasy demeanor last night, a twinge of guilt arose in me. Could it have left some psychological shadow? Fine. Let's meet then. Coffee shop. Looking at Kinchen sitting opposite me, I asked, "You're the one who wanted to meet. Now that we've met, why aren't you saying anything?" After disgusting Liang Zhuan, I was in a good mood, which carried over into speaking with him with more patience than usual. Kinchen stared intently at the coffee in front of him, as if lost in some memory. After a good while, he looked up, offering a faint smile. "Xiaoxing, you always wonder where my feelings for you come from. Today, I'll be honest with you." I nodded with interest. "The love letter you gave Liang Zhuan during your teenage years, I stole it. I added your QQ using the contact details left on it. He seemed to find it hard to continue, pausing for quite a while. All those years, the one chatting with you online was always me, not the Liang Zhuan you thought." I was stunned, taking a long moment to process it. This was truly absurd. Back then, I demustered all my courage to secretly slip a love letter into Liang Zhuan's school bag between classes, and someone actually stole it. Moreover, the reason I had the motivation to keep chasing Liang Zhuan was because the Liang Zhuan con QQ wasn't completely cold to me, occasionally giving me a glimmer of hope. So, My connection with these two brothers ran much deeper than I thought. Back then, I had a conflict with Liang Zhuan at the Qin family. My mum, not wanting Liang Zhuan's father to be caught in the middle, sent me to a boarding school. During those dark times, when everyone had abandoned me, only you tried every way to make me happy. I wasn't trying every way to make you happy. I was trying every way to make Liang Zhuan happy. I do like competing with Liang Zhuan for things. But you're not a thing, he said, looking at me earnestly. You're the one who's not a thing. I flustered, avoiding his gaze, my heart racing. I didn't know if what he said was true or false. But it was extremely awkward. The Xing, you are someone I genuinely like. My only moment of heartfelt affection in this world. I want to enter your life. To take care of you. He spoke each word slowly and seriously. I swallowed, my cheeks feeling warm. Since childhood, I'd never been confessed to like this. After a while, I calmed down, regained my composure, and turned to look at him. Qinchin, I don't like you. Perhaps it was too direct and blunt. Qinchin was stunned for a moment, then gave a bitter smile. You know what? All these years I've been paying close attention to you. When I heard you'd broken up, I rushed back immediately. No wonder my boss's wife always loved gossiping with me. She must have been passing information to her friend Qinchin. Having someone across the ocean paying such close attention to me. Waiting for me to break up. Actually thinking about it, it was a bit touching. I don't know you at all, and you don't know me either. There's really no need to make it seem so deeply emotional, I replied. Besides, there are so many men in the world. Why must I get entangled with you two brothers? So Qinchin, let's part ways here. After my experience with Liang Zhuan, I understood the principle short pain is better than long pain, even better. So, the only gentleness I could offer Qinchin was this uncompromising rejection. Leaving the coffee shop, I called my mum. Getting straight to the point, I told her Liang Zhuan would never marry me in this lifetime, so she should give up. She scolded me for a long time, finally letting out a long sigh. The Xing, you've devalued yourself. My worth is determined by myself, not by how many relationships I've had, I replied calmly. After hanging up, I went to my boss to cancel my leave and moved back to my own place. I also packed up everything related to Liang Zhuan and threw it in the bin. After throwing it out and walking back upstairs, I felt completely clear-headed, as if someone long burdened by illness had suddenly recovered, feeling comfortable everywhere. Earlier, to let Liang Zhuan see my social media post, I'd specifically taken him out of the blacklist. Now, I sent him a message proactively. Let's delete each other. From now on, you are my long-deceased ex. I hadn't intended to wait for his reply. But he was too quick. The Xing, thank you for taking care of me all these years. I was too proud. I never considered your feelings. I was just starting to feel a twinge of sentiment when another message came through. Can you ask Lin Yu to delete the video from last time's gathering? After asking, I found out my best friend had posted the video of Liang Zhuan's proposal to me, including the part where I cursed Chen Xion online. Sigh. Liang Zhuan is really arrogant. So what if the proposal failed? Why call it last time's gathering? Who gathered with him last time? I didn't just post it online. I sent it to several classmate groups. Even if I wanted to delete it, I couldn't delete them all. Let's see who will still call Liang Zhuan an unattainable flower now. Bully my sister? Even if he's handsome, he must be punished, my friend replied. I screenshotted my friend's messages, sent them to Liang Zhuan, and swiftly blocked him. Everything was in the past. The future was promising. The Xing, next time, remember, if you can't feel the love, withdraw quickly. Between long pain and short pain, remember to bravely choose short pain. Most importantly, if your heart stirs again, still be brave and go for it. Don't fear the outcome. Face your heart. Don't fear the future. Live well in the present. The end.